Hello, I'm really glad to be speaking at the Earth Day Festival in Palermo. Today we have two enemies. One enemy is extinction and the other enemy is green capitalism. Of course, you might pose the question, how can extinction be an enemy? Because how can you fight against mass extinction? Of course, we've seen protests, we've seen movements, we've seen that the very term extinction became a hegemonic term in social activism and political activism. But again, how can you really fight extinction? So here we come to the real enemy, and I would say the real enemy is what we see today under the term of green capitalism. Namely, through the last years, we have seen a massive climate action movement from Fridays for Future to various attempts of the Green New Deal in the United States or advocated by DN25 in Europe, but this is nearly not sufficient. It is nearly not sufficient because the climate of our contemporary moment is characterized by the climate crisis. And it's not only characterized by the climate crisis, but by a collision of climate crisis and the nuclear age. As a response, what we can see here is that we have a system reinventing itself, namely the very same system which brought us to this in the first place. And this system is capitalism, which is now going green. For an example, you can already buy a Tesla car, an electric car in Bitcoin, and you can believe that you are going green and contributing to the climate and saving to the climate by driving an electric car and buying it by Bitcoin. But don't forget that Bitcoin is spending more energy than countries such as Argentina or other countries. So it's not really a solution to our problems. In the same way, the so-called Green Deal by the European Commission and the current European Union is also not sufficient to take us out of the current contemporary crisis. So in order, if we want to confront extinction, namely the destruction not only of the environment, but the destruction of other species and the destruction of the biosphere itself, we have to tackle one of the biggest problems of today, and this is green capitalism. It doesn't mean that we don't need solar power, wind power, and so on. We need it desperately more than ever, but let's not forget that the Green New Deal, if it becomes real, has to also tackle the inequality between the North and the South, and also has to tackle the contradictions of providing so-called clean energy and the contradictions of our current financial systems, which are still relying on extraction, expansion, and exploitation. So the only way against this extinction is not only fighting the common enemy, namely green capitalism, but it's also a sort of evolution. So I wish you a happy Earth Day and hope you have a lot of fun in Palermo.